Movement becomes possible only after the boundaries have already decided its direction. What appears as expansion will reveal itself instead as enclosure. By the end, the shape of the Japanese islands will no longer feel like a homeland, but like a perimeter. Constraint will become visible not where movement stops, but where it continues without altering its outcome. This matters because maps do not prevent motion, they allow it. And in allowing it, they define its limits long before those limits are reached. The Japanese archipelago lies off the eastern edge of the Asian continent, separated by narrow seas. The distance from Kyushu to the Korean peninsula is less than 200 kilometers. From there, the mainland extends outward in continuous landmass across Manchuria, northern China, and beyond. The islands themselves form a narrow chain approximately 3,000 kilometers in length. Mountains occupy most of the interior. Flat land appears primarily along coastal plains, concentrated in small, discontinuous regions. Rivers are short. They descend quickly. They do not penetrate far inland. Arable land exists, but it is limited. Beyond the coastline, the Pacific Ocean opens immediately, vast and uninterrupted. To the west, the Sea of Japan separates the islands from continental Asia. To the south, the East China Sea connects maritime routes toward Taiwan and the South China coast. Natural resources within the islands are unevenly distributed. Coal exists, but in finite quantities. Iron ore is scarce. Oil is almost entirely absent. Across the water, the mainland holds what the islands do not. Iron deposits appear in Manchuria. Coal fields extend across northern China. Oil reserves exist further south and west. Between them lies water. Shipping routes cross it in predictable lines. Ports anchor these crossings at fixed points. Movement flows through channels that cannot shift. The distance is short. The separation is absolute. At first, the crossings remain narrow. Ships depart from ports such as Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and Sasebo. They move westward across confined seas, arriving at Busan, Dalian, and Shanghai. These routes remain close to land. Coastlines remain visible. The scale feels manageable. But distance behaves differently over water. Each crossing requires fuel. Each shipment requires escort. Each return requires repetition. Resources do not move themselves. The mainland expands outward without interruption. Railways extend across plains that do not end at shorelines. Materials extracted inland must travel hundreds of kilometers before reaching ports. Then, they cross water. Then, they cross again. Silence settles into the pattern. Every unit of distance accumulates twice, once on land, once at sea. The islands remain fixed. Consumption continues without interruption. Steel production requires iron and coal in stable quantities. Shipbuilding requires steel. Transportation requires fuel. The population concentrates along coastal plains where supply arrives and disperses. Nothing pauses. Across the sea, extraction expands further inland. Manchuria stretches north and west beyond immediate coastal reach. Rail lines lengthen. Each additional kilometer of track introduces another segment that must remain intact. There is no single point of failure. There are only more points. Shipping lanes widen. Convoys stretch across open water, exposed to weather and distance. The Pacific does not provide alternate routes. It provides only scale. Scale does not resist. It remains. And in remaining, it multiplies exposure. The islands do not grow closer to what they require. They remain where they are. The crossings become routine. Ships leave. Ships arrive. Materials unload. Production continues. The sequence stabilizes into expectation. Expectation removes interruption, but expectation depends on repetition. Repetition depends on continuity. Continuity depends on distance behaving as it did before. Then, distance changes. Not in measurement, in vulnerability. The Pacific widens southward without interruption. Shipping routes to Southeast Asia extend thousands of kilometers. Oil fields exist there, but they are not adjacent. They lie beyond open ocean, beyond intermediate harbors, beyond quick return. The ships that travel there do not hug coastlines. They enter open water. There is no terrain to shorten the crossing, only water. Fuel travels farther from its source before reaching its destination. Consumption does not adjust. It waits. The islands remain narrow. Storage capacity remains finite. Ports remain fixed. Materials arrive in sequence, not all at once. Supply becomes a chain. Chains do not fail everywhere. They fail at points. The map does not close suddenly. It closes gradually, through extension. Each new source of material lies farther than the last. Each new route contains more distance than the one before. Each new segment increases what must remain uninterrupted. Nothing announces this shift. The ships continue to move. The mainland remains where it has always been. The islands remain where they have always been. But the balance between them changes. Silently, the crossings multiply. Convoys require coordination across longer distances. Fuel consumption increases simply to sustain movement itself. Ships carry resources, but they also carry the fuel required to retrieve more fuel. The distance between origin and destination becomes part of the cargo. There is no alternative geography. The Pacific cannot be compressed. The islands cannot move closer. Infrastructure on land expands to match extraction. Railways, depots, and ports multiply. Each addition strengthens access and extends dependence simultaneously. Nothing in the terrain prevents this expansion. Nothing in the terrain shortens it. The map permits extension. It does not permit return to simplicity. Distance accumulates behind each movement, layering itself into the system. The system adapts. Adaptation does not remove the layers. It builds upon them. Silence returns. At sea, routes intersect open expanses without cover. There are no mountains to shield them, no terrain to conceal their movement. Water reflects exposure without altering it. Convoys become longer. Journeys become slower. Arrival becomes less certain. But consumption continues with the same rhythm. Factories do not slow their requirement because the distance has increased. Cities do not reduce their need because the crossing has lengthened. Demand remains fixed. Supply stretches to meet it. Stretching does not reduce distance, it inhabits it. Eventually, recognition emerges, not as discovery, but as awareness of continuity. Everything still moves. Ships still depart. Resources still arrive. But nothing moves freely. Every movement requires maintaining the path behind it. Every extension requires holding what has already been extended. The system cannot contract without interruption. Interruption cannot occur without consequence. The islands remain surrounded by water. The mainland remains beyond it. Between them, routes persist because they must. Not because they are secure. Because there is no other way to cross. A question forms without resolution. At what point did movement across the map become indistinguishable from confinement within it? The ships continue to depart. The ports continue to receive them. The distances do not shorten. They repeat. And repetition preserves the shape of the enclosure, even as movement continues inside it. The coastline remains unchanged. The water remains where it has always been. The crossings do not end. They remain necessary. If this story gave you something to think about, consider subscribing to Timeless Questions. We explore history, philosophy, and the patterns that quietly guide human behavior.